Hey everyone, TimaeuSS here and welcome to another Zenless Zone Zero video. And finally, the game is launching globally today, and with it, the updated global tier list for ZZZ is now available on the Pridewood site. I'll leave a link down below so you can check their awesome work out. But in this video, we will break down all of these characters, especially the higher tiered ones, and go over in detail what makes them so strong. And of course, we'll provide some in-game combat footage as well so you can better understand their rotations and gameplay style. Because in my opinion, for ZZZ, having meta teams, that's fantastic, but having the right character with the right playstyle that suits you is the key to having fun. So in this video, we'll go over the characters, their meta relevance, their gameplay style, and hopefully that'll guide you with your decision making process in picking a reroll target or your most optimized team when the game launches. And again, you can use my link down below to download ZZZ. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, starting us off, we've got the tier 0 character in Alan Joe, and she's the first limited rate up character in the game, an ice type attacker unit. Now, her kit centers around the freeze or the flash freeze charges that she gain from mostly her dash attacks. You can also hold down the left click or the attack button for a charged dash attack, and this, instead of granting the usual 1 charge, she'll gain 3 charges, which is perfect for her 3-hit combo basic rotation, because after you hold down the charge to gain the 3 flash freeze charge, you'll be able to use your basic attacks and they'll consume all 3 charges, and you'll do enhanced amounts of damage, and they also get converted into ice type. So this is very key in utilizing her well. That means you want to dash, charge attack, and then you can release your basic. Now, her special skills are also very good. You can see that she gains invulnerability frame during her special skill attack, and when you use her special skills, they also grant you the flash freeze charges, and they connect. If you use your basic attack after the shark dive or any of the special skills, they'll connect with the third portion, which is the sword kicking portion of your basic attack combo, which is the part that does the most damage. So as you can see here, if you're starting out, you are going to attack, hold down a charge, you gain 3 stacks, and use your basic attacks, and then follow up with a special enhanced skill, and then you'll dive around with a shark attack, and then you kick your sword out. That's basically your rotation, and it works surprisingly well because she does so much damage. She has really good ice damage built in, and of course, when paired up with units like Soukaku and units like Lycaon, she will do insane amounts of damage, and the core carry of course the ice team, and one of the best in the game at the moment, especially for the release. And her ultimate is also something that is very strong. She will jump into the air and then slam it down with loads of ice and explode everything for massive amounts of damage. And in this game, especially the early to mid game aspect, you will want to level up your main DPS. So a lot of you guys, if you do manage to pull Alan Joe, that's what you will be building that will carry you through the beginning parts of the game. So she'll do crazy amounts of damage, and definitely deserving of the tier 0 status in the damage department. Next, we've got Lycaon, the only other tier 0 character on the list, and a standard one at that. As you can see, not only is he going to be able to fill out the stun or the daze gauge breaker role on the ice team, he'll actually be very useful across any other teams you put him in because of how well he fulfills his role. Now, his basic attack, the 3-set rotation, can be enhanced by holding down your attack button or the left click. As you can see, there's some delays in between the attacks as you're trying to get the timing right, but then his attacks, they all turn into the ice type damage, and you will do enhanced daze bar damage with the charge attacks. You can also charge his special attack as well. That's the E or whatever this purplish button is on the mobile device, and you can see that you can combo these away along with your basic attacks, and also 2 instances of your special skill to do really crazy amounts of daze damage to the enemy, and allowing you to get these chain attacks off, and allowing you to get your main DPS in and do enhanced damage. And that's why he's going to be really versatile, because even if you don't use the ice team, you use, let's say, a shock team or a different other team, you can bring Lycaon in and let him fulfill this role. So you can see that once the enemy is dazed, you can use a heavy attack that will trigger the assess attacks, and you can just basically let everyone come in and do insane amounts of damage. And his ultimate, the Q, will will do massive amounts of damage to the enemy's daze gauge. So a lot of times you'll see that in the boss fights you can just either use the ultimate or let him open and do crazy amounts of damage, and when the boss is dazed, quick swap, get your buffers, get your debuffers in, and then swap into your main DPS and just clean house. Now in the beginning he may not be as strong as it seems in comparison to like a tier 0 or tier 1 DPS character, and that's because early on in the game, not only can you change or lower the difficulty to basically the toddler mode, but you can also make it so that your DPS is over leveled in comparison to the other characters, and you will just brute force everything. But until later on, you will start to realize that the amount of work he's able to put in, how fast he deals damage to the enemy bosses by breaking their gauge, is going to be extremely crucial in any team building circumstances. Next, we've got two tier 0.5 characters in the support section, and of course the first one is Rina, and she is going to be an S-ranked Mei character that offers a penetration ratio to her allies, and this scales off of her own penetration ratio stats. And the cool thing about Rina is that all of her attacks, you can quick swap into a different character and it does not interrupt her attack animation. As we know in ZZZ, sometimes when you're mid animation and it's a very long one, you can quick swap to a different character and the on-field character will complete their movement. Now the difference for Rina is that most of her skill has the ability to allow you to quick swap to a different character, and this penetration debuff that Rina applies is present when she lands her attack. So while your main character or your main DPS is doing a crazy amounts of damage, you can see that often in the background Rina is doing her lightning attacks, so you really feel that there is someone helping out in the midst of combat. Now her ultimate is really good as well. She does basically shock damage and also allows your allies to come in with an assist. This assist a lot of times triggers in situations when, for example, you get hit and you have the ability to assist come in and basically counter in a way without actually interrupting the enemy bosses. But Rina has this mechanic built in where when she uses her special attacks or when she uses her assist attacks, you can assist further with the next character swapping in. So this is really helpful, and of course when Rina's attacking, as we said, she will apply this penetration so that when the assist gets called in, you are going to be dealing bonus damage. So overall her kit is very helpful in buffing the team's damage output, and definitely one that we can expect longevity wise. Now Soukaku is the other tier 0.5 character, and honestly, what a beast. The only A rank character to make the list above tier 1, and wow, she is extremely strong. Now her skill centers around passing her attack and her ice damage bonus to her allies. You can see that she has a vortex stacks below her portrait on the top left, and she gains that by using her special attack. And if you have 3 stacks of vortex and we use your fly the flag, which is a long press on the special skill, it does an AoE attack, pulls everyone in for a tiny bit, and this does crazy amounts of damage and allows her to attack with enhanced basics as well as dash attacks. But most of the time you just want to get her buffs out, and you can do that even just with 1 stack of the vortex. You can see when you use your E and then you long hold to press your E, you will slam your flag down, and this gives insane buffs to her in terms of ice damage and of course attack, and this can be passed on to the next character. And as you can see here, we're gonna start the fight with our special skill, gaining those vortex charges. We're gonna slam the flag down and the assist button flashes. We're gonna swap into our main DPS, and that DPS will gain the attack buff as well, which is crazy. And of course, if that main DPS is Alan Joe, we will benefit from the ice damage buff and later on also ice penetration, making Soukaku definitely deserving of the tier 0.5 support status in this game. And moving towards the tier 1 damage dealers, we've got Grace, and her gameplay is so flashy and I absolutely love it. Her skill kit revolves around her stacks of zap, and she gains a stack every time her basic attack or dash attack hits the enemy, and when reaching A stacks, as you can see below her portrait on the top left, she will be able to throw grenades and apply shock. Now this is her special attack, so that's your E button, but you can see here that she's essentially going to be zipping around the battlefield, AoEing everyone down, and then throwing grenades to apply shock damage, which is really crazy because a lot of the enemies in this game and the bosses later on will be weak to that. So the gameplay loop for her is really fun, and a lot of times you'll be using her, for example, in junction with Rina and swapping into her after Rina or before Rina, and then going into Anton, the main shock damage dealer at his current moment. And later on, Miyabi should also be a shock element character, so you can see that Grace is the enabler and one of the teams that technically doesn't require a stun dedicated daze gauge character, because you can just keep applying shock. Look at the gameplay, you're just zipping around, the boss is not going to hit you, you're going to dodge everything, you have a loads of iframes in between, and you're just going to keep throwing shock grenades. So definitely a character I'm hoping to get, and the one that I will be releasing the guide for in the future. Another really fun character in the tier 1 damage dealer category is Nekomata, and she excels in AoE damage as well. You can see some of her special attacks will only trigger after a perfect dodge or after you activate a dodge counter, but you'll see that she's really flashy and she'll be just zipping around the battlefield with really good iframes, invincibility frames as well, and dealing good damage against the enemy. Now versus single target boss fights, it might be a bit lower in comparison to some of the other tier 1 characters, but she is very fun to play, and you will feel like a pro playing her because you'll just be zipping around and doing crazy amounts of damage, and the enemies are not really going to hit you, so it's definitely a character that is very fun to play. The next tier 1 damage dealer theoretically has one of the highest multipliers in the game, and that is Soldier 11. Now her base attacks is hilarious because you have to click at the exact right moment in order to turn your sword on fire. That's right, the basic attack rotation really is going to be a skill issue. However, you can circumvent this by using a special attack, chain attack, or ultimate that provides 15 seconds of fire suppression, which gives you your flaming sword attack without having to time anything. And this is where the majority of the skill or the damage is going to come from, is that you want to attack the enemy while your sword is on fire. So you're gonna have to run her in a fire team to trigger a lot of her buffs, but it's perfect because right now the fire team is decently well built with Koleda, and I'm going to show you the bear as well, and these two will be able to trigger and deplete the daze bar, allowing the chain attack to come in, which means on the assist in you will be able to gain 15 seconds of basically flame boosted fire attacks that just does so much, right? And after the 15 seconds expires, you can of course chain it up with your skill, your special skill, for a further damage boost. But she does crazy amounts of damage. Just make sure that you understand you need to time the basics right if you're using her outside of these boosted time windows, but otherwise just look at her go. Wow. And speaking of her fire partner, we've got Koleda, the S rank stun character that does really good daze bar damage if you have a Ben on the team. As you can see, the basic rotation after the second and the fourth hit, you will be able to use a EX special attack that explodes the enemy target. And if you got Ben here, you can actually do a coordinated attack, and this is the only character right now that can do it, her plus Ben. Later on I'm sure we'll get more, but this allows you to do extra damage to the enemy's daze gauge, and this is really crucial because in the boss fight, like I've explained before, what you're going to do is have Koleda essentially go ham on the enemy boss, get the daze bar filled, and then you will be able to chain or assist attack in, and the Soldier 11 gain that sword, flaming sword boost, and your DPS window is going to be very important during that period. So definitely a character you will be using later on as we approach the mid towards the end game, because again, getting the boss stunned and brought down to their knees is the key component of an end game. But yeah, you do have to use Ben with her at the moment to gain the full benefit, but luckily Ben is an A rank character, so not that hard to obtain. So hopefully if you have her built, you will pull Ben as well, and good luck to the fire team, because I think is a very high skill ceiling with insane amounts of burst damage, especially on the backbone of Koleda plus Soldier 11. And there we have it, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope it was helpful in understanding some of these characters and what they do. Now, taking a look at the tier list, I know we have the tier 2 characters and the tier 3 characters, and they're definitely decent as well, but I think for units like Ben, which we've mentioned, Anton in the Shock team, and later on Ambi and Nicole are actually viable units, which I'll cover in the team building section as well. So if you have an interest, let me know in the comments below, and I'll cover them in the next team building video. But for now, these are the tier 0 to tier 1 characters for the global release of the game, and just a little bit of a short, I guess, summary on reroll targets. Personally, for me, I'll be trying to get Lycaon or Grace, and building a Ice and Shock team starting out. So getting Lycaon, getting Grace is very important, and either the other two that I don't get, the one I don't get will be my 300 pull target, and then I'll be going for Allen, which will carry me through the early to mid game for sure in the first week, and the rest we'll have to see. Depends on how lucky I am. But for now, if you're re-rolling, good luck. If you're not, I hope you're happy with what you get, and this video has helped you in determining how you would build or play these characters. And it's TimaeuSS here. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye now.